Welcome to another episode of The Domino Effect, in which we discuss the intersection of our community's top social issues with legal issues impacting us all. I'm Jessica Thomas, a Florida family law attorney and your host. In this episode, we're shining a special spotlight on our most vulnerable, children in the community. Joining us today will be attorneys who have dedicated their time and efforts to helping children who have been neglected, abandoned, and abused. In addition to discussing the resources available, we will also talk about the role you can play to lend a helpful hand. Perpetual goodness goes a long way, and every person, company, and organization have the ability to positively impact our community, making Central Florida one of the most desirable destinations in the nation. We each have a responsibility to assist in some way, when possible, and continue to maintain the cycle of development and improvement in our community. It's the Domino Effect. When it comes to our children, safety is a priority and something that every child should have regardless of the circumstances. Neglected, abandoned, and abused children deserve advocacy and support. Joining us now is our first guest, who is passionate about serving those children and putting a smile on their faces. She is no stranger to the Orange County community because of all the years she has put in to give back. Some refer to her as a local hero, while others call her the Bike Fairy. Kathleen Downs, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jessica.
The Bike Fairy, tell me what that means.
So in about 2016, I had my first case as a volunteer advocate for children. There was a little girl, Karina, she was 9. She was at her grandmother's house. And I went into the garage, and I'm a cyclist. So of course my eyes went to the bike. It was rusty, the seat was ripped, the tires were flat. So I wanted to get one child, one bike. And it grew.
Now that one has grown to a huge number now. How many children have you been able to affect with your mission?
Somewhere in the range of 3,000 to 4,000, I think.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Now you mentioned you're a cyclist. Have you seen the same type of joy that you get from cycling in those children's faces when they get their bikes?
Yes. In fact, that first girl, Karina, when I brought my bike, and we went for a ride around her neighborhood. She was showing me her school and where her friends live. And the interesting thing was, I find cycling with our kids great because they talk to you and they don't have to make eye contact. Mm-hmm. They can just tell you what's on their heart. So when we were done with the ride, the first ride, when I was loading up my bike on the bike rack, she brought it back because she thought I loaned it to her.
Oh.
Yeah. So when she realized that she had her very own new bike, she was thrilled.
Now, for people watching, if they want to help with that, how can they assist you in that mission of providing those bikes to our children in need?
I accept gently used bikes.
Okay.
And I guess the definition of that is if you would be happy putting your child on that bike and it looks nice, then it's good for our kids. I have volunteer bike mechanics from Kyle's Bike Shop and other avid cyclists who work on bikes in my garage. I can put new seats on, I can repair tubes, tires, adjust brakes and gears. I can't really make rusty bikes work well or look nice for our kids. So gently used bikes when your kids outgrow them. And when I talk about kids, it's up through young adults, because we're also supporting young adults who are working, who are going to school up through age 21.
Wow. Now, part of the children that we're describing are children who are directly served by our Orange County Legal Aid. How did you get involved with the Legal Aid Society?
I started as a volunteer advocate in 2016, and then the bike thing just kind of happened, and a couple of years after that, I joined the board for Legal Aid.
And now what is your position on the board? What do you all do?
So we are looking at everything from how to support the organization, fundraising, events, education, advocacy, real estate where legal aid is housed, anything that wonderful team needs. You know, pulling our resources and helping them.
Now, as far as resources, if someone wants to support or learn more about legal aid, how would they get that information?
By going to the website, Legal Aid of OCBA, and everything is on there. Our events, our education, our volunteer, our advocacy programs, descriptions of the different groups that we service.
You mentioned volunteer advocate. For people who are watching who don't know what that means, what is a VAC as we know them?
Yes. So I'm not an attorney, and the guardian ad litem in Orange County would always be an attorney. That's the person that's going to go to court, take care of everything legal from the time a child goes into dependency until permanency is established. The VACs will do home visits for a period up to about 12 months. We will go monthly, spend time with the child, and just be their voice to the attorney. You know, it may be a situation where a child could be with two different relatives, and they like a school at a different location. And, you know, maybe nobody really knows that. We can be the voice of that child to those people making decisions about them. If they need additional services. I had a young lady one time, she wanted to do gymnastics, and I got her a scholarship to a local gymnastics club, got her a couple of leotards, and got her involved with that.
Wow. So anyone in our community who wants to serve these children who have been affected by abuse, abandonment, or neglect, even if they're not an attorney, they can help on these cases as a VAC.
Absolutely.
And would they go to that same website to get more information?
Yes.
So tell me just, briefly, how did you get to where you had even the capacity or the desire to help children in this area? Where did that kind of trajectory come from?
It actually started through something else I was doing. My mom was always really active in the community when I was growing up, so that part comes early. But I was doing prison ministry with my church. I was visiting the Lowell Correctional Facility, and a lot of the women wanted prayers for their children that, were many of them in foster. And after doing that for a number of years, my heart just spoke to me, and I said, I'm going to go help their babies. Wow. And I reached out to Legal Aid.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for joining us today. Is there any other opportunity for someone who's not an attorney to volunteer when you're doing these efforts, these bike giveaways? Can they volunteer at these events as well?
I would say that is all coordinated through Legal Aid. My part of it is getting the bikes, getting them worked on, getting them ready for my biannual events. But bikes go out all the time.
Okay.
It's not just when I'm doing the events. Kids and families need bikes all year round, so it's kind of a constant effort.
Well, I can attest to that. I think it was phenomenal that I got to meet you for one of my guardian ad litem children, and it was that bike made his world. Those pictures, that smile on his face, even his caregiver, and that was absolutely outside of one of the events. So it's good for people to know they don't just need to wait for one of the giveaways.
That's right.
Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all that you do for the Orange County community.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
A special thank you again to Kathy Downs for joining us here today. We are grateful for her contributions to helping as many children as she can in such a special and unique way. Up next, we will have another guest that will share with us how he advocates for children from a legal standpoint. Before that, let's take a quick moment to recognize our generous sponsors. We'll be back with more of the Domino Effect.
A disproportionate number of Floridians don't have access to the justice system. That's why the Florida Bar Foundation exists to bridge this gap. Their mission is to increase access for the underprivileged by funding legal services, developing innovative tools and programs, and supporting legal aid providers and the courts. Because of their efforts, they've been able to help veterans facing homelessness, children in the foster care system, men and women who've survived domestic violence, and securing benefits for our elderly and disabled. Doing good for the greatest in need because everyone deserves access to justice.
Welcome back to the Domino Effect. We've heard about different ways we can help children in the foster care system without being part of the legal realm. Now we'll find out how attorneys in Orange County also try to make a difference for our children from a legal standpoint. Joining us is a special individual with Payne Law LLC and one of our pro bono attorneys with the Legal Aid Society. Welcome, Paul Zinowitz. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So, obviously, as a pro bono attorney, you have a full-time job in the legal world, right?
Correct.
What is your full-time job?
I am a first-party insurance attorney, meaning I sue insurance companies for various indiscretions. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I'm an attorney and I'm watching this and I don't have, any experience in family law or dependency, can I still join to be a pro bono attorney?
Yeah, absolutely. Legal Aid Society provides a ton of resources, and there's always somebody available to answer questions when you don't know exactly what to do.
How did you first reach out?
I did a moot court event at one of the law schools with Bethany Barber. I didn't know her before then, and we just kind of hit it off a little bit. And she asked me if I would take a pro bono case of a little baby, and I agreed to do it, and it's all history since then.
So, to that end, how long you've been a pro bono attorney?
Going on 12 years now.
Wow. And so, as far as your experience, would you say that it's been a positive, rewarding experience?
Absolutely. It's been chicken soup for my soul, for sure.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned that you've done it for 12 years. Do you keep the same case all 12 years? Do the cases change?
Yeah, they change. I generally have one client or family of clients at any given time, and as soon as one case closes out, I generally take on a new one. So I think I've had somewhere between 15 and 25 kids over the last 12 years.
Wow. Now, when we think of being a pro bono attorney, is it that you're doing your insurance work for these children? What is it that you're doing for them?
No, I'm acting in the best interest of the children. So essentially, you're acting as their guardian ad litem, and making sure their rights don't get trampled on. In addition to that, just making sure they get everything that they need at any given point in their dependency.
Now, if I'm let's say, as we would call him, a baby lawyer watching this, thinking, oh my gosh, that still sounds really magnanimous. Can I do this with zero experience?
Yes, I think that's how I started. And I don't have any background in family law or criminal law. Yes, anyone could do it. And I think that it's a great way for a young baby attorney to get an experience in other fields or areas that they don't normally work in.
When we are talking about being a guardian ad litem, tell our viewers kind of what that looks like. Is it court appearances? Is it home visits? What's kind of the scope of those responsibilities?
It's all of it. It kind of depends on what age they are or where they're at in the dependency system. But it's appearances, court appearances, semi-regularly, maybe every couple months, and then going to see them when they need help.
Okay. When these home visits, has it been your experience that if you wanted maybe case management to go with you, or maybe another guardian ad litem from the actual Legal Aid Society, could you have someone come with you?
I'm sure you could. I haven't specifically asked at any point, but I'm certain that there's resources available from LAS.
Now, do you have to have any particular training to be a guardian ad litem?
I think there's a monthly training that they do for CLE credit, but no, they give you this kind of a PDF of kind of what the expectations are, and you kind of poke through it a little bit. But they're always available to answer questions. And over the years, I've asked a lot of questions to Bethany. But There's no formal training that you have to go through that I'm aware of.
And then when you mentioned the court appearances, are you there on your own speaking for the child, or does legal aid normally have a court representative there?
Legal aid always has a court representative there, but again, the courts are going to defer a lot to the guardian ad litem, especially if the guardian ad litem seems like he or she has a specialized knowledge of the child. But they are always there for support if you need them.
You mentioned your first case was with an infant. Do you need some kind of like licensed mental health counseling, some kind of training as far as being able to recognize any ailments of the child, any cognitive disabilities, anything like that?
No, you don't need any specialized knowledge, but you will probably you will probably have to acquire some of that knowledge as things are going. But there are medical professionals and reports that you could kind of look through and try to understand to the best of your ability. And again, go back to legal aid if you have any specific questions about it, and they'll point you in the right direction.
What about the time commitment? Have you seen there be a really hard or negative impact on your actual law practice?
Not me personally. I could see how it might, especially if you have multiple cases, because you never know what's going to happen with these kids, especially as they're teenagers and getting older. I have never been worried about the time commitment, but I mean, this week I got a call from one of my clients at 7:30 p.m. He needed some stuff, and I went out there to help him get what he needed. So no matter how much time you budget for, you're probably going to have to do a little bit more depending on the issues with the children.
Wow. Oh, thank you so much for your service and giving back. I can't imagine how busy you are as an attorney. Now, just one other question, do you find it easier? Are you a solo, or are you at a big firm?
I owned my own small firm for the past 7 years. Earlier this year, I merged with Payne Law due to the health of my father in Michigan. I've been going back and forth quite a bit, but now it's I guess what you would consider a medium-sized firm, because there's approximately 10 attorneys at the firm that I'm at now.
Have you found that firm culture, again, thinking for some of our baby lawyers watching it, that maybe they're at a medium or large-sized firm? Do you feel like there was a lot of support for you to be giving back what sometimes may be an undeterminable amount of billable time on your guardian ad litem cases?
Yeah, I think that they understand, especially we have certain pro bono requirements as attorneys, and that we have to fulfill those every year. So, yeah, I do definitely now with Payne Law, my bosses are very supportive of these endeavors. So, but I could see how a bigger firm might get more frustrated with that.
Well, I appreciate everything you do. Of course, the Legal Aid Society thanks you and those children that you've helped over the last decade plus of time. We're so grateful to have attorneys like Paul who care enough to dedicate time and effort to helping children in our community who need it most. We would like to thank him for sharing his perspective and words of encouragement. We have another break before we meet our final guest, so stay tuned. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back. Our final guest for the show is a brilliant attorney and someone who is also dedicated to serving our community. Joining us now is the Guardian Ad Litem Program Director of Legal Services for the Legal Aid Society. Ronnie Syme, How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Jessica.
Thank you so much for coming. So first, tell me, we say director, what does that mean? What do you do at the Legal Aid Society?
So my job is kind of overseeing all of the staff attorneys that we have on staff, which typically there's about 9. And I oversee the case coordinators. Right now we have 6, so we're good with case coordinators right now. And then I oversee the pro bono guardian ad litems and kind of oversee anything court related.
Wow. How did you get to legal aid?
I actually was an intern with the Legal Aid Society when I was in law school back in 2008, so I'm going to age myself a little bit. And I kept in touch with staff members of Legal Aid, and when I was ready to come back to work after taking a couple of years to have babies, I decided to come back and do the work that I wanted to do, and so I came back to the Guardian Ad Litem program.
I feel that a lot of people who maybe are thinking about taking a job in public service, even at the Legal Aid Society. Side note, are you guys hiring?
We are hiring. We have
so.
one staff attorney position available, so if you're interested, please let me know.
Oh, yes, I'm putting that out there for the universe. As far as the Legal Aid Society, you made this determination. You went to law school, could have went to private practice. What made you want to give back?
I went to law school specifically to work with kids.
Did you really?
I did. So I chose my law school because they had a dependency law program. I knew growing up that I wanted to work with kids. My mom was an inner city school teacher, and she told me I wasn't allowed to be a teacher, so to find something else to work with kids. And so my way of doing it was to become a lawyer and to advocate for kids.
Now, in your role at Legal Aid, do you just oversee or do you actually do some hands-on work there?
I do a lot of hands-on. It's uncommon for me to have more than 2 days a week that I'm not in court. I'm in court pretty regularly.
Wow.
I also oversee the crossover court, so all kids that are dependent and they are also delinquent, I go to all of their hearings as well.
Now, for our viewers, they may know DCF, they may know foster care, they may know those terms, but when they hear the word dependency, delinquency, that probably is not ringing a bell. Can you explain a little bit?
Absolutely. So dependency is when a child in Florida has been abused, abandoned, or neglected in the state of Florida. They are adjudicated dependent, which means that the state of Florida believes that they need to intervene in that family and help that family receive services to try to make that family whole. So if they're dependent, if they're adjudicated to be dependent because of abuse, neglect, or abandonment, then a guardian ad litem is appointed to represent their best interest in court. A child who is delinquent is a child who is under 18 who may or may not have been accused of conviction or committed a delinquent act. So the same as if you were an adult and committed some type of crime, as a child you would be delinquent.
Okay. What if I am someone out there needing some help for my child and DCF hasn't gotten involved yet, Department of Children and Families, but I'm looking for just some of those services. Is there some resources available to them through Legal Aid? Can they reach out to you all to put them in touch with someone who can maybe help them with a safety plan or something of that effect?
So all safety plans would have to come from the Department of Children and Families. So if there's ever a situation where you believe that a child is being abused, neglected, or abandoned, the best thing to do is always to call the Child Abuse Hotline, which is through the state of Florida. They are the experts, they have the investigators that will be able to go out. Just because an investigator goes out doesn't mean your child will be taken from you. They can put services in place to avoid going to court and avoid anything happening to that family, but the best way to get services is through the Department of Children and Families.
What if I am a teacher, a family friend, a church member watching this and I think I really want to help? How can I?
So there are a lot of ways to help. There are a big need for foster families in Orange County. We have a lot of kids that don't have foster families right now. We have a big need for VACs. So something that we have in our program, and it's different than any other county in the state of Florida, is Orange County, you have to be a lawyer to be a guardian ad litem. Every other county in the state of Florida, you do not need to be a lawyer. So in Orange County, if you're a lawyer and want to take a pro bono case, please let me know. But if you are a non-attorney and you still want to help, we have something called Volunteer Advocates for Children. So what that means is that we assign you cases and kids, and you can become part of their lives. You can become a mentor towards them. You can visit them and have a relationship with them. And then you give the attorneys some information and help so that we can all, as a team, help advocate for those children to get the services that they need.
Wow, that is a lot of ways to help. How would I find out information about being a volunteer advocate coordinator, a pro bono attorney, or what if I just even wanted to make a donation to the Legal Aid Foundation?
So the best way to do it is our website, Legal Aid Society has, I'm sure they're going to put that up on the screen, but the Legal Aid website has all the information, it has my contact information and everyone who works at the Legal Aid Society's contact information. We are always fundraising, we are a nonprofit, so we are always looking for grants and funding. We are always looking for people to volunteer their time and their services, and we have a lot of opportunities to do that.
And do I need any types of special training to support in that VAC capacity or as a pro bono attorney?
So as a VAC, we provide all the training. We have a VAC coordinator who will train you and answer all questions. All staff is always available to help and assist all of our pro bonos and our VACs. We get questions all the time, and so we are here to help and assist because we understand that not everyone knows every intricacy of a dependency law case. That's why we're here to help, because we are the specialists on it. And so for pro bono guardian ad litem, the Legal Aid Society provides 2 trainings a month that go towards your CLE credits, which you have to do as a lawyer anyway. And so we provide ongoing training on dependency issues.
Wow. A lot of great information. Thank you so much for making the choice that you did to help our community, not just go for the gusto, the rest of us in private practice. So it's really inspiring what you do and how you've made an impact on our Orange County community. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Jessica.
Ronnie has demonstrated an insurmountable amount of courage and dedication to continue the type of work that she does, and we are thankful that she can share her experiences with us here on the Domino Effect. To our viewers, thank you for watching, and we hope that you will join us again. I'm your host, Jessica Thomas, and this is the Domino Effect. The Legal Aid Society has existed for over 60 years, providing legal representation to clients on issues similar to those discussed in this episode. It is imperative that the community knows when faced with legal troubles, you are and should still be able to receive high-quality legal representation and access to justice regardless of your income. If you are seeking assistance on a legal matter, you may contact the Legal Aid Society Law Firm by calling 407-841-8310. The Legal Aid Society is a nonprofit law firm that relies greatly on volunteerism and donations. For more information on how you can support this worthy organization, visit legalaidoCBA.org today. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Domino Effect. And remember, perpetual goodness goes a long way. See you next time.